Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to the Ground Up series for Overwatch. Today we're going to be talking about win conditions. First thing, I hope you enjoyed the new intro style. It will get better, but for now, that's what it is, so I hope you enjoyed it. Go ahead and leave a comment down below telling me what you think about that. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the actual meat of this video, talking about win conditions. So, first thing to understand is that a win condition is some sort of thing that allows one team to beat out the other team and win either an objective or the game itself. For the game, the win condition is pretty simple. Whoever pushes the objective the farthest or captures the most points in the allotted amount of time wins. As far as the actual objectives, the win condition there is removing the enemy team from the objective so you can either push it forward or capture it. Seems really simple, right? Well, kind of not really. The thing to understand here is that both teams are trying to win, and they're not just going to hand it to you like you would have it handed to you if you were playing against bots. Another thing to understand is that every fight has multiple win conditions, so there can be a number of different things that could happen that could swing the fight either one way or another and cause one team to win when otherwise they might have lost. Alright, so now that we have the groundwork laid, I'm going to go ahead and give us some more meaty stuff here. So, I have broken down all engagements into 3 tiers. We have first fights, second fights, and third fights, and it doesn't really matter, and those are just names. I named them because, well, you know, numbers, okay? So, the first fight is going to be your no ult fight. So this is actually typically going to be your first engagement between the enemy team and your team, where neither of you are going to have a single ult up to help you win. And I'm just going to refer to this as the brawl from now on. The brawl is all about getting fast frags and getting your team the numbers advantage as quickly as you can to just wipe the rest of the enemy team out that way. The way you do this is normally by focusing either the squishy targets first or the tanky targets first. So your kill list will either go heals, DPS, then tanks, or DPS heals, then tanks, or tanks, DPS heals, or tanks heals, DPS. It doesn't really matter which one. Normally this is decided by who's out of place. If you can catch someone out of place, normally you'll just follow this. So if it's a healer that gets caught out of place, or if no one's out of place, you'll go for the healers, then the DPS, then the tanks. But if a tank gets caught out, then you'll go to tanks and then just roll over whatever squishies are in front of you. Healers and DPS are basically the same priority, unless it's the beginning of a fight, and then you'd normally want to tend to go towards the healers first, or you want to go for the DPS first, depending on who's carrying their team. Next up is the second tier fights. This is the kind of fight that one team has an ult or two from the previous engagement from the first tier fight that they can use to initiate to give them some advantage in the brawl that will happen after that. There's not a huge difference between the second and the first other than the fact that they have ultimates going into the fight and then can use that to swing the fight in their favor. This brings us nicely to the third tier of fights. This is where you have 2 or more ultimates that you can combo together. This is generally a crowd control ult and a DPS ult, something like Zarya's Graviton ult, and then something like Pharah's Barrage, where you can trap all the enemy team into one enclosed space where then the DPS ult can wipe or nearly wipe the entire enemy team. Now that I have all 3 tiers established, there's one more thing that I need to touch on briefly before we move on, and that is that each team has their own tier that they're at. So one team could be at tier 3 while the other is at tier 1 because the second team wasted all of their ults in the previous fight, and therefore have none to go into the next fight, where the first team saved theirs and now have the potential to team wipe with the ult where the other team has none. Let's go ahead and talk about the actual win conditions for each tier. The win conditions for the first tier is to eliminate the person or people carrying the enemy team. This could be someone in any single role. It could be a healer that's doing a really good job healing and it isn't letting people die. It could be a DPS that's killing everyone. It could be a tank that's killing everyone. Whoever it is, you need to just find them and kill them or remove them from the fight. So while you're doing this, you also have to keep your carries alive. If that's your DPS or your healers, whoever it is, you need to keep whoever's carrying your team alive, because there always is at least one person that's doing above average and that will win you the fight if you can keep them alive and give them space to do their job. If the enemy team carry is a healer, make sure you kill the other healer first and then move on to the DPS and everyone. Just kind of keep it concise, because if you kill one tank, one DPS, and one healer and they're running a 2-2-2 comp, they basically still have half a functional team and can still put up a really good fight even though they are fighting a 3v6 fight. The reasoning for this is that each role relies on another role to help them do their job. So if you get rid of all of the tanks, now the DPS and the healers have no one to hide behind. If you get rid of all the healers, the DPS and tanks have no one to keep them alive. And if you get rid of the DPS, then the healers and tanks have no one to ensure that the enemy team is dying. The basic win conditions for the second tier is to remove the enemy ults from the picture, get value from your ults, so do something that sets your team ahead with your ults, and then just don't screw up the brawl that comes afterwards. And then finally, the win condition for the third tier is to, again, remove or neutralize enemy ults. So this can be done by ulting yourself. If Reinhardt's already caught in a graviton or is hammered down, there's not a whole lot he can do with his ult. Or again, you can just kill Reinhardt so that he doesn't even have a chance to get his ult off. Then you want to keep your DPS ult alive, because you can't combo a crowd control and a DPS ult if you don't have the DPS still alive. And then you want to get your crowd control ult off in a good position that the DPS can follow up on, and also in a place that gets as much of the enemy team as you can. And then have the DPS ult and kill everyone, and then deal with the stragglers, and that's it.